Hello and welcome back yet another episode of Around the Wicket, and we're back after probably like a year. I haven't been keeping track, but it's been a while. This is keeping in mind all the irrelevant series played in the middle of the year that no one cares about, as mentioned before multiple times, except the series that we win, like the England series. Anyway, so a surprise set of events took place in the Asia Cup 2022, where the Sri Lankans dominated the cricket scene in Asia once again after the longest time. It's been a while since they've had much joy. We all feel sad about the situation down in Sri Lanka at the moment. And it's been a while since they've had, well, good cricket that they can be proud of. Um, since 2015, after Sangakkara went, after Jayawardena went, and after Malinga retired quite recently, the Sri Lankan legends are all but gone. But this time, the youngsters shine. Wanindu Hasaranga won man of the series for his brilliant performances. All the batsmen throughout the opening period, they did quite well for Sri Lanka, and they barraged through India and Pakistan to win the Asia Cup 2022. So let's begin. So the podcast is about Indian cricket. So let's begin by talking about India in the group stage. So we had two games. The first against Pakistan and the second against Hong Kong. The result against Hong Kong, no surprises, we won that one. But however, the game against Pakistan, an extremely close game. It could have gone either way if not for Hardik Pandya's brilliant innings. And of course, contributions throughout the middle by Virat Kohli and Ravindra Jadeja, which motored us through to a win by 5 wickets after Pakistan got 147 all out. The Hong Kong win was quite, it was obvious. A few key talking points in India's group stage games was, of course, Hardik Pandya with this crucial win, Bhuvneshwar Kumar with 4 wickets against Pakistan, and another wicket against Hong Kong, Arshdeep's clinical bowling, and of course, although not complete yet by the end of the group stage, the return of the king with a 35 backed up by a 59 not out. And of course, in against Hong Kong, we saw a brilliant inning by Suryakumar Yadav because Hong Kong had controlled the game until say the 70th over, and then Suryakumar Yadav went all guns blazing, 6 4, 6 6s, 68 of 26. He almost dethroned Babar Azam as the number one batsman, if I'm not wrong, but hasn't been able to stake his claim yet in the top of the ICC rankings. So, what was your like analysis of India's group stage clinical performances?
Yeah, I mean, so group stage, obviously, at the end, I think we all had very, very high hopes. It's great that they put the India Pakistan match at the start, so that kind of relieved all of our tensions on U1 after the trauma that was the traumatic experience that was our last game against them. Obviously, the not out spree from Babar and Rizwan, and I think we had a very good start, as I said. Against Pakistan, they put on a pretty poor showing with the bat, and I think we've noticed this. We'll talk about this more when we go like deeper into Pakistan. But Pakistan's batting has been very sporadic. They've not had like innings where the entire team has sort of performed with the bat. It's always been one or two players who carry the batting innings, and obviously this game was no different. You had Rizwan, obviously Babar didn't get off to didn't get off to a great start, and we were able to pull through, as Om said, thanks to Hardik Pandya. And with regards to the Hong Kong game, that was, in my opinion, the most anticipated match of the entire Asia Cup. I really want to see what Hong Kong could do, what Hong Kong had to offer. I've been really enjoying to see their progress lately in world cricket. So it was my heart was tugging for both sides, but it was fairly depressing when Hong Kong lost. I thought they could pull through, but yeah, as Om said, Sky saved us on that one. We conceded way too much. We can't give 150 to a team like Hong Kong.
Yeah, I mean, after we beat everyone in the group stage, I I had high hopes for the playoffs, but we will talk about that more later. In our first game against Pakistan, uh, I thought that it was actually a really good game, and we haven't had a close game versus Pakistan since like 2012 or 2011 back in the World Cup, because it's always been one-sided, mostly on our side. but it was good to have two close games versus Pakistan this time again. And Hardik Pandya showed that he really is like the best all rounder in our country because he performed both with the bat and with the ball. Pakistan, I think, has some real issues. Obviously, Babar and Rizwan getting runs has been the key for them, but I don't think that's necessarily going to work with, like in Australia, just because of how they approach the innings. And another downside to that is actually what India faced in the 2019 World Cup. Our top three were like scoring so much that our middle order was so inexperienced. And I think that's going to happen with Pakistan this time around, especially since they didn't even pick seasoned campaigners like Shoaib Malik or Sarfaraz Ahmed and Mohammad Hafiz retired. So I think that could be a big issue for them in the World Cup. Even Fakhar Zaman's not in the main squad anymore. Talking about Hong Kong, I'm really happy that a team like Hong Kong like made the Asia Cup. Like they defeated like Oman and stuff in the qualifiers, which was an upset in the world of associates. But but yeah, like good for Hong Kong. I know my man. Like one of my friends, like family friend, he used to play club cricket in Hong Kong when he used to live here, like when he used to live there. So yeah, I have a bit of a connection to the Hong Kong club cricketers in it. But but yeah, good group stage for us. Good bowling, good batting, some questionable fielding. But at the end of the group stage, I was looking forward to what is going to come ahead.
I think we all were, and like, but as part of the Asia Cup tournament, I think I was so confident about India going to win. I took the matches like quite lightly. It was like almost a surety for me. It was almost a feeling that who else but India? There's no one else, right? Pakistan was the only threat, but without Shaheen Shah Afridi, Pakistan just looks ass. And as you mentioned, there is a problem with Pakistan's batting. So anyway, not getting into that, we'll move on to India in the knockout stages. Now, India in the group stage and India in the knockout stages were two very different teams. We played Pakistan again. We lost to Pakistan. We played Afghanistan. We won against Afghanistan quite decently. And in the middle there, we played against Sri Lanka and we got absolutely destroyed by Sri Lanka. So there are two very disappointing games from an Indian perspective and one very joyous game, but not enough to, you know, rekindle our hearts. By the way, we saw one player missing from the Indian setup this time around, and we went into the knockout stages, and that was Ravindra Jadeja due to the injury that he faced while pursuing some water activities. And it's very disheartening to see something like that happen because he's now missing out on the World Cup, and India lose their two all rounders they would have liked to have for like ever. Because when we saw in 2020 ending leading up to 2021, it was Hardik Pandya and Ravindra Jadeja who absolutely dominated with the bat in Australia. And that was a beautiful series for them. Pandya had a 90, Jadeja had a 90. They basically carried India in that series against Australia, and it would have been great to see that again. It just proved why they're the two greatest all-rounders ever, and why not ever, sorry, like right now in the world stage, and why you need them in your team. Without Jadeja, the balance looks a bit bleak, even though you have Ravichandran Ashwin. Anyway, moving on to the game against Pakistan, I thought the openers gave us a slow but solid start. Kohli again performed well at the 60 of 44, and the middle order just had absolutely no answers. 13 from 10, 13 from 12, 0 from 2, and 16 from 14 for the four middle order batsmen. And then the Pakistan the Pakistan bowlers just caught on from there, and we just did quite badly in that game. On the other hand, we could not get rid of Muhammad Rizwan like we did in the first game. He was just there toiling at us. And 71 from 51, he anchored the Pakistani innings, where Mohammad Nawaz sent up the order, the key factor. He took the game away from India faster, faster than anyone on his team. The 42 from 20 was a brilliant innings, and well, it just swept the game away from us. And of course, how can I talk about the Pakistan game and not talk about Arshdeep dropped catch? Would it have made a difference? Uh, I don't think so, personally. Even if you have caught the catch, I don't think it would have made a difference. But it was a big blow. He got Asif Ali out the next over. So we should see. And anyway, talking about Ashdev's bowling, he's been absolutely magnificent. He's been nailing those Yorkers. He had an economy of 7 in that game after bowling 3.5 overs. So kudos to him. His fielding mistake is an error in judgment anyone can make, but I do not think it affected the result of the game. That was going Pakistan's way anyway. What do you guys think about the India Pakistan game?
No, okay, fine, I'll go. So, I mean, see whether or not uh, we would have won given the catch is completely speculation. Now there are an infinite number of factors that can affect this, and it's the dropping a catch doesn't only directly have an impact on the score. You know, batsman getting out. It would have also been extremely demoralizing. You know, to be fair, at that point, I feel like India was having a bit more hope. You know, we were sort of slowly plowing through the Pakistani lineup, and there looked like there could have been a chance, and then obviously that drop from Ashdeep, and that drop was just it was absurd. I mean, he this is you're playing professional cricket. There's like a massive game. Uh, as the great cricketer said, this isn't the time to be casual with your catch. You know, I think that was it flowed through his hands. You know what I mean? It just very softly went through his hands. It wasn't a particularly difficult catch, and by particular, I mean it was an incredibly easy catch. 90%, 99.9% of people in world cricket would have taken that, and I'm sure Rajdeep would have taken that 99%, 99.9% of the time that catch is given to him. But you know, what happens happens, and I do think India would have had a, you know, like if we got one more wicket there, uh, you know, going as I said, plowing through Pakistan's order, I do think we could have had a much higher chance of winning. But yeah, as you said, we never know. Arshdeep should have just taken the catch. But to be fair, he did bowl well the next over. He was bowling quite well, so props to him for that.
Look, with regards to Arshdeep, in that game, there are a few things to consider. One, he was bowling really well, and we can't like take the drop catch uh, as like an excuse to hinder his overall performance and like to say he should be dropped because he was bowling really well. Even that last over, he was pretty solid. Um, yeah, and yeah, she should have dropped the. I mean, he should have caught that catch. It was a fairly simple catch. He should have caught it, but you can't say that catch lost India the match because there are many other factors to consider. Like you can just say like if Rohit had scored like 100, like we would have won the match. Why did he get out? And like there are many different points in the game which you can use to like say if that had happened differently, we would have won the match. So I think we just got to move on. Arshdeep learned his lesson, and we just have to hope that next time when he's under a pressure situation like that, he doesn't crack.
No, like
But
that's
like,
okay. To be fair, that's fair enough. But even after that, uh, even after the drop catch, the man Asif Ali himself, he hit a six in the next over. So like, I mean, you never know. It could have been a new batsman on strike. Maybe Asif Ali wouldn't have gotten strike if that was the case, and so maybe Kushdil would have been under more pressure to try to finish the game himself. There are an X number of factors, right? As you said, you can't really predict something like that. But so close to the finish of a game in a player who could be so
no.
impactful.
I think we would have won. I think we would have won had he taken the catch.
Hmm.
But I also think we would have won had like a lot of other things not happened in the game too. It's not only that.
Right, fair
Like
enough. But I mean, so close.
a lot
It
of
was a.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was. It was a very very easy catch. It was like.
Hmm.
It was an absolute. Yeah.
Yeah, and like Om said before, uh, we we were like under pressure from like a brilliant innings by Mohammad Nawaz. I think no one really knew that like no one really knew what he was going to come out and do. Like I think it was unexpected from all of us. And it was a great innings to be fair. Like he just took our bowlers on and he cut down that run rate and he bowled really well too. Like we couldn't milk him for runs or anything. So I think he was a deserving man of the match as well.
I think one of the worst ways to get out is, well, a run out. What are your thoughts on Kohli's, run out in that game? Yeah, Rehan.
Yeah, I mean, it was like there's just I don't think I don't think there's a point uh like there's no point to talk about it because like it just happened in it.
Yeah, fair. And to conclude that game, we saw like Ravi Vishna hit two fours towards the end. I think that was the proudest moment of that game for me. That was some joker fielding from Fakar Zaman, but we moved past it. That was one of the best finishes I could have that India could have gotten
Yeah,
at
and
that
not
point in
not only
time.
one, it was twice in a row as well.
Yeah, it was
Even
the
better.
exact same. Yeah, the exact same fielder doing it twice. So let's move on to our next game. We'll talk about the India Sri Lanka game. Now, this was one game that I thought, okay, India lost to Pakistan is the only team that India can lose to. I don't think they lose against Pakistan. Then we come against Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka just wipe us away in the power play. I mean, Rahul 6 from 7 and Virat Kohli 0 from 4. They leave us and we're just flummoxed there. But then we had a mini comeback with Rohit Sharma 72 of 41. That was brilliant power hitting and brilliant batting from him. But I think our middle order failed once again. Pant 17 of 13, Hardik Pandya 17 of 13, Deepak Hooda 3 of 4. Ashwin had a cameo towards the end, but not enough. So, what do you guys think about this, like the Indian middle order? First of all, especially with the debate of Karthik over Pant, and obviously Sri Lanka, brilliant opening partnership, and they just built up that opening partnership and just steamrolled us. But I don't think I blame the bowling much over there. It was just a poor turn of events. But let's talk about India's like middle order, especially lower middle order of Pandya, Pant, and Hooda this time, and the debate between Dinesh Karthik and Deepak Hooda. Rehan?
Yeah, so as everyone knows, I'm a big DK fan, and as you would expect, I am going to say that we should definitely prefer Dinesh Karthik uh, over Rishabh Pant. I think that Pant being a left-hander is not a good enough reason for him to start in the 11 over a player like DK, especially with Jadeja gone. You need someone who can finish the innings, and Hooda is not a Jadeja replacement. I'll get to that later, but you need DK there. And I think you can add Hooda in as a batter at number 4 or 5, at 5, considering Sky's at 4. And I think he can help with some overs. And number 5 is a much better position for him than number 7, because he can come in when there's like either pace or medium pace in Australia happening, and he can just hammer that away. You can't expect him to come 17th, 18th over and hit. That's DK's job. And I feel Hooda can be used at number 5 with Hardik at 6 and DK at 7. Hardik and DK need to finish the innings. I know Hardik was promoted up the order when Jadeja was there. And like I know he likes batting up the order, but with Jadeja gone, he needs to go back to what he's best at, and that's finishing the innings.
Yeah, I mean, like in the Sri Lanka match, the Indian batting, all the way from what 5, 6, 7, wasn't able to do much, and I don't even blame Huda, as Rehan said. Like that's not what he does. You can't expect him to just play someone else's role. And in that match, also, just adding to something Om said, I think the the we played decently through the middle overs on the bowling front, but we lost the game in the opening. Like I don't even think that's contested at this point. At like about 11 overs, they were at 97. So at 11 overs, you're at 97. You need some like 75 runs in the next 9 overs with 9 wickets in hand. That's you can't expect to win from there. Particularly with the Sri Lanka side that we've been seeing. Sri Lanka did have a little bit of a hiccup in the middle, but then Rajapaksa and Shanaka were able to bring it through, and they had the one of the I would argue the greatest batsman of our generation, one into Asaranga, coming right up. So uh, it's very difficult to win for India after that kind of start.
Yeah, I think we needed wickets early on in the power play after disappointing batting display, especially from the middle order. I think come the World Cup, before in the Australian, we need to figure out who stays in the top order and who goes out. and we need to have a set definition of who is our first choice keeper and finisher, whether it's Rishabh Pant or whether it's Dinesh Karthik. Either way, moving on to the greatest match in the last 3 years that India have ever played, or the greatest match that India has ever played in their life. Well, at least it was for me because it was a spectacular event, and even though India lost the Asia Cup and were knocked out, um, it was one of the greatest moments for people who saw the game and loved the game, have experienced in a long time. Uh, KL Rahul finally did something useful in his life, but very too slow either way. For his 62 from 41, Suryakumar Yadav and Pant played irrelevant innings with a combined total of 26 runs. And the other innings of a total of 122 runs came from the bat of Virat Kohli. Well, I wouldn't have thought I would be saying that for the longest time, especially the T20 format. And no one thought they would too, especially the haters. So suck it. Um, Either way, there's absolutely no way in the world I just saw Virat Kohli destroy Rashid Khan, Mohammad Nabi, and Mujibur Rahman all across the park, and especially the Pacers, Fazl Haq Faruqi, uh, and Fareed Malik. On the other hand, when Afghanistan came into bat, the score of 212 was too high for them to ever surmount. And in the first over itself, the swing king Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, just like back in the day, picked out both the openers with in-swinging and out-swinging deliveries, and then proceeded to take out the most of the middle order in terms of Najibullah Zadran and Kareem Janad as well. Ibrahim Zadran stayed strong for Afghanistan, but nothing could help them after the onslaught of Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, and Virat Kohli, as expected, won the man of the match. So, yeah, what do you guys think of that performance?
Yeah, dude. I mean, it was great to watch. Man like King Kohli getting a century again, his first run in the T20 format, and it was a really good innings, particularly because like we know he's good against pace, and he has been in recent years, but it's his issue versus spin that's really come into light. And Afghanistan has probably the best spin attack in the world right now, because they have Mujib, who's amazing. They have Rashid, who's the best T20 player in the world, and you have man like Mohammad Nabi, who is pretty solid too. And man like King Kohli, he stood there, he hit the boundaries, he took the singles, he had such a low dot ball percentage and 200 strike rate, and against an attack of mostly spin, it was a brilliant innings to watch. It just looked like he was timing everything perfectly, he was placing everything perfectly. I mean, those he was sweeping. Like that's something we rarely see Kohli ever do. Sweep, and he was sweeping and getting the boundaries. There was this beautiful square, like a square drive almost that he had before. And of course, the trademark Kohli flicks, which are just great to see. What an innings! And of course, you can't forget Bhuvi. I mean, these guys. Bhuvi has been on and off with his form since his comeback from injury after the pandemic. But I mean, this game was the comeback game for both of them because what a spell! I mean, 5 for. I mean, that's like the best spell for India in T20s. And in like limited overs, it's like the second best, almost like only behind man like Stuart Binney, who, by the way, hit a very good 80 in the Legends Cricket League. We should get him back into our World Cup squad. We need those bowling all rounders. But yeah, I mean, it was just great to watch, and it put a smile on my face.
Yeah, I mean, most has been said. Kohli obviously hitting 122 at a strike rate of 200. And like, you see this pencil? I missed the goddamn match, man. It's one of the two matches I missed in the entire Asia Cup. It's one of two matches I missed, and it's like the happiest moment in most Indians' lives. Uh, it's I've seen the highlights like 10 times now, but the joy of being there live and seeing it live would have been something that every man has to feel before he dies. I'm sure. I hope it happens again. The only thing that can rival it in my mind, is Dale Steyn coming back into cricket, coming back into the World Cup, and winning Player of the Series. That would be equal to this, but I don't think that's gonna happen. It's not very high hopes at the moment. But god damn it, I mean, looking at the match itself, as Rayan said, incredible feat. India had a bunch stacked against it, in the sense that Afghanistan has a incredible bowling lineup, and uh, as Rehan has mentioned a lot of times, uh, this pitch, bowling first, is an absolute, it's an absolutely beautiful pitch for anyone bowling first. It's like it's an, I forgot what the like number is, but over the last some 30 games played here, vast majority is won by the team uh, who bowls first. And I think some of the only exceptions are that of that rule are Hong Kong, so it's not really a big difference in
Yeah,
that
I mean,
sense.
if you look at the stats in Dubai, not counting like associate teams, like counting like proper top eight, top
Yeah,
ten
yeah.
teams, and even counting IPL, in like recently, the only matches which have been won by the team batting first have been like the Sri Lanka match in the final, uh, and the the Hong Kong match, obviously, but the CSK versus KKR match back in the 2021 IPL final. Bad moments for me, but yes.
Yeah, so yeah, as Rayan mentioned, India had the odds stacked against it, and Afghanistan actually had a great opportunity when Kohli was, I think, on 28 or 29. Man was dropped in the deep. Another example of just absurd fielding in India matches in the Super Four. I mean, I saw the catch. He tried to take it like one-handed like this. Who's gonna tell this guy he's playing cricket? He's not doing like Punjabi dances. Man had his hand up here. He wasn't using both of his hands, and it's not even like the ball was up there where he had to jump and stretch his hand. It was like somewhere in the middle of his head. He was trying to go for the glory catch, as was Arshdeep Singh, my arch nemesis after that Pakistan game. But it is what it is. Both were dropped, and at least one of those drops led to a positive result for Indian fans. So I'll take it.
That Kohli thing was beautiful to watch. I think someone put a reel up talking about how like the reel showed Kohli's 100 from 2016 and showed this 100, and it showed the similarity in the shot, the pull, the flick, the square drive, the lofted shots over extra cover. I think it was brilliant to see the comparison. And people might say he's back. Like a lot of the times when we saw cover drives against Australia in test games, you would say, oh, maybe he's back. The cover drives are in, he's connecting them. But I think what truly symbolizes him coming back would be the flick shot. I think the flick shots that he played over deep mid wicket, especially against Pakistan, or even in this match, in that same region, I think they're what like really showcase the fact that he's back, and I think the 1 month break helped him a lot. I don't know what he did in those own like in the entire 1 month. That's only up to our speculation, but like whatever he did, it's worked for him, and I think he's done a very good job. I think Anushka Sharma has helped him a lot, and he's back onto the circuit with an absolute bang. Second highest scorer in the Asia Cup, and he should have been the highest. Okay, Mohammad Rizwan stole that from him. Second highest, second highest score in the Asia Cup,
Start padding for real.
and yeah, Rizwan stat padding. Yeah.
On God,
So
bro, he was so
anyway,
slow in some of those games. It was absurd.
so yeah, good dub for Virat Kohli, and I hope to see many more. I think if I was to choose the greatest moment in Asia Cup 2022, it would be Virat Kohli's smile after he scored that 100. Because well, that was just a joy to see live, unlike Piven, but like it was just a spectacular moment. And yeah, the losers who missed the game. Oh wait, yeah, moving on. Let's talk about something. Well, for better for worse. Let's take a look at three different sides. I think we'll start with Afghanistan, the before and after. So they won two back-to-back games in their group stage, and they were very clinical with their performance. But in the knockout stages, they faltered a bit and lost all three of their games. And Vivian's just retrieving his pencil. Um, yeah, so they lost all three of their games, and it was kind of disappointing to see the way they fared in that. So let's just have Rehan comment on Afghanistan's performances in the Asia Cup and their chances of the World Cup.
Yeah, Afghanistan's a team that I like very much. They have very good spin attack, and they have some very talented batsmen in there, like Zazai and Gurbaz, of course, and like the old seasoned warriors, of course. But they bat with intent, and they have a very solid spin attack. Uh, so yeah, like they're a team which I had high expectations from, and after that first match against Sri Lanka, where they trashed Sri Lanka. Honestly, I was looking forward to seeing their run at the Asia Cup. Unfortunately, the rest of the season didn't go as planned. They should have won that game with Pakistan, by the way. That's twice, last World Cup and this World Cup, this Asia Cup. They were so close to beating Pakistan. They were so close to beating uh, what was it, like Bangladesh or someone, and they lost. Oh, sorry, Sri Lanka, and they lost both those two close games in the Super Fours. I think they're talented, and I think they can definitely hurt some sides in Australia. I don't think they're strong enough yet to win it, but they're definitely going to be like the party poopers. They'll destroy some sides' hopes and dreams because they're definitely capable of doing that.
Yeah, pretty much what Rayan said. He summed up Afghanistan. I mean, whether they have chance in the World Cup, I'd say they're not going to do badly, but I don't think they have a chance of going all the way through. In order to do that, you need to have a much more balanced side than Afghanistan does, and their batting is completely lacking compared to their bowling. They have plenty of world class bowlers, but not as much on the batting end. So they definitely need to fix that. They're not a World Cup winning side yet.
Completely agree with the both of you. I think they have a long way to go. And the next team, I think they've ran the miles. They've had the players. They've just not had it like whole for the longest time. I think Pakistan just lacks something that doesn't come so easily to them because like if we see the middle order, it went from Shoaib Malik, Muhammad Hafiz, uh, to Iftikhar Ahmed and some random people, right? And seeing that, just like you have no faith in that middle order to give you the performance that you need because they've been carried so much by Babar Azam and Muhammad Rizwan that you have no reliance on that middle order to give you anything that you need. The only reason they beat India in the second game was Mohammad Nawaz's 40 that came out of absolutely nowhere. I mean, kudos to him, but the middle order seems very lacking now. And without the experience of Fakar Zaman right at that number three spot, they look even, they look really weak. I think last time around in the World Cup, they managed to go the lengths, but I don't think they'll be able to do it this time, especially because of those reasons. But their bowling, Naseem Shah, as soon as you saw him in like the test format, he's been absolutely magnificent. He looks great in the T20 format as well. Harris Rauf has always been good. Mohammad Nawaz and Shahid Shah Afridi complete that pace attack. And with Shaheen and Naseem bowling like the way they are, I think Pakistan are a force to be reckoned with, especially on that front. And even Shadab Khan, I think we actually saw him take so many wickets this time around that it was unexpected. It's not like him. He usually doesn't bowl this way, but he brilliant stuff from Shadab Khan and just as good as the bowling lineup looks, the batting lineup looks just as bad. So I think Pakistan have a lot to work on. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts, guys? Vivin?
I was
Yeah.
I was gonna say about Pakistan. As you can, I mentioned this a bit earlier, but their batting is, and as Om mentioned, is extremely reliant on the openers. And because Babar Azam didn't really have a tournament, it's extremely reliant on pretty much just Rizwan at this point. And their batting has been extremely sporadic. In every game, they haven't had like a consistent string of players who have scored maybe 30, 40. It's always been, the 7-8 here and there, and then you get 150 from Rizwan, and you'll get like a 35, and that's how they make up their runs, right? Like, for example, in the Sri Lanka Pakistan game, right? If you look, I'm just looking at the scorecard here. Rizwan 55, uh, Ahmed 32, and then Harris Rauf 13. Everyone else, Babar Azam 5, Zaman 0, Mohammad Nawaz 6, Kushtil 2, 0, 8, 4, 8. It's extremely inconsistent, and it's just an over reliance that Pakistan has to override. But on the bowling front, Pakistan's looking like really good. They're looking very strong, and with Shaheen Shah Afridi coming back in, they look even better. They need Shaheen and Babar to come back if they stand any chance. And even with Babar back, there's a problem of over reliance. But I think that's if they do that, there's no doubt in my mind that Pakistan is a contender for the World Cup. Like it's if Babar is able to come back to form, Shaheen comes back, Pakistan they definitely have what it takes to go all the way.
Yeah, no, Pakistan isn't going to do that well at the World Cup. Their team selection was awful. They have like three good players of pace in their team, that being Babar Azam, who's not in good form and who doesn't bat with intent. He just stat pads. You have Fakhar Zaman, who's either injured or just kicked out, and he was anyway going to bat out of position. So what's the point? He couldn't maximize the power play. And you have Asif Ali, who bats down the order, and like he can't really make a big impact if there isn't a good foundation set up. Uh, all of their other players are good players to spin, and they're practically disabled versus pace. So their batting is useless. They have a good pace attack. Naseem Shah is great. Shaheen Shah Afridi, of course, he's a fantastic bowler, and like even Harris Rav, great bowler at their death, especially really fast also. Like they have 145 like miles per hour, I mean kilometers per hour plus bowlers. Um, yeah, so their bowling is good, their batting is awful. They're gonna get destroyed and bullied so hard in Australia because the bounce is just gonna be unhittable for them. And and the boundary sizes are big. Have you guys heard that for the series against England, Pakistan are actually reducing boundary sizes compared to their already small boundary sizes, so that it's entertaining for the crowd, so like that they can hit more boundaries. Except in Australia, you're gonna have massive boundaries. So how you gonna prepare for a World Cup in Australia if your boundary sizes are smaller than Chinnesong? I mean, it doesn't work like that. So yeah, Pakistan, I believe, are done.
Another team that everyone thought was done, but rose from the ashes, are the heroes from Sri Lanka, who proudly lifted the trophy of the Asia Cup after a long toil. I want to bring out a statement that Darshan Chanaka made. Most of our players like Pathu Misanka, Charit Asalanka, Wandu Hasaranga are 23, 24 years old, and cricketers hit their peak at 28 to 33 years old, most like commonly. And that is why he said that Sri Lanka have a great future ahead of them in terms of cricketing prowess. And I think we've seen a glimpse of that. I don't think they'll ever reach to the great heights that they had before, with Arjuna Altunga de Silva, Sanal Jayasuriya, like anyone basically. I'm pretty sure Kumar Sangakkar can outbat the entire batting lineup, right? So I don't think they'll ever reach that height.
Bro,
But
I'm
I think
sure
there's,
Kumar Sangakkar can outbat most batting lineups.
I mean, yeah, but like if you see, I don't think he can outbat like any of the top four, and I think that except England, probably England are shit. Um, so I don't think that Sri Lanka will ever reach those great heights again. But it's good to see that they're coming back, and it's good to see that they have like a lot of people around their team who contribute to the same. Like Darshan Chanaka's just magical arm. Hasaranga has been absolutely brilliant with his bowling. Now you have Tikshana who's come in, and he's very clinical in the power play as well. He got Rahul out quite early in our game. Then you have your pace attack. You have Karnaratna giving you good overs. You have Karnaratna finishing off. It's a bunch of key all-rounders in that lower middle order that help them out a lot. And then in the batting lineup, there are a few things that could be better. But I think Rajapaksa, Asalanka, Mendes, Gunatilka, all of them just combined to give them a good enough thing. I don't think they'll even come close to winning in Australia because, well, it's Australia. But they can build on what they have achieved at the Asia Cup to reach where they have the potential to be.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they have a chance of winning the World Cup per se. And I mean, I agree about Sri Lanka's future looking good. As you mentioned, all of these players are young, so that's a big positive on that front. And the main thing I would say is their spin attack. Obviously, I gotta support my boy Tikshana, my CSK, my CSK man, and Juan into Asaranga been bowling incredibly for the last bit. This Asia Cup, he's been doing extraordinarily. So that's great on that front. But I don't think they're a team that can win yet. What happened in this World Cup was that, sorry, in this Asia Cup, they did well because their players stepped up to the plate and they were able to perform when it mattered, which is obviously all that sporting really is. But I don't think in high pressure situations against teams that are performing themselves much better in a hostile pitch like Australia, I don't think that Sri Lanka can necessarily pull it off. So yeah, I'd have to agree with Om on that one.
Bro, shout out to the team from Sri Lanka, man. They got the floods going and no, no, that's Pakistan. Shit. Well, they got the bankruptcy thing going.
Economic crisis, yeah.
Yeah, they got the bankruptcy thing going, and like they don't got electricity and stuff. Tough time for the families, and they had to move the Asia Cup. Originally, it was supposed to be held in Sri Lanka, but they had to move it to Dubai and the UAE. So shout out to them for like pulling a great event. Like this event was better than last year's World Cup. I'll say that easily. The matches were really solid, and the music was much better. But and shout out to them for like defying all odds and winning. Like I'm happy for those guys. And it's a young team. I'm sure they'll do well. I mean, it's tough to like beat the heights that your team reached previously, but I think there'll be a team to look out for the future. And like we had a lot of we had a pretty big range of no Sri Lankan players in the IPL. Now suddenly we're seeing a lot more, so it's good to see the talent emerging, and happy for those guys.
Well, yeah, Sri Lanka have done the impossible, and you just feel warmth in your hearts for them. So it's a brilliant thing that they've done, and like couldn't be proud of them. But as everyone said, uh, not even close to the World Cup winners. And as just seen, the World Cup squads have been announced, so we can take a look at India's squad. We see Ravichandran Ashwin as the backup spinner, and I think he played one game in this World Cup, and I think with those long boundaries, he has a great shot at that. So Rehan, you just want to talk about a bit about India's squad at the World Cup?
I think it's the expected squad. It's the squad I expected, and like for one, I'm happy because it shows that Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma as the selectors are being consistent, and that's a good thing. They picked Ashwin over Krishna, which I thought was interesting, but I'm not surprised because Jadeja's gone for batting and Ashwin has more experience in Australia and he's a great defensive spinner, which will really help. So yeah, and obviously they picked Harshal and Jasprit Bumrah who are back from injury, so that's a good thing. Happy we don't need to deal with Avesh Khan, and I'm glad that Avesh Khan's not even in the backups anymore. We got a man like Mohammad Shami back in there. Still, still Shreyas Iyer in there. I don't see why they're persisting with that dude. I know he's KKR captain, but he's quite useless in my opinion. Should have gone with like Sanju Samson, I believe. But yeah, I mean it's the expected squad. Glad to see Deepak Hooda make it in there. And the only question now is where will KL Rahul bat? Because he's vice captain, so that indicates that they are going to start with him. I personally don't think he should bat in like the opening position anymore because he just doesn't have the intent there. If you force him into the middle order, he'll be forced to attack from ball one, and we've seen what he can do in ODI cricket. So I hope he starts at number 4 or 5. and four, Surya Kumar can bat at
Also, we
three.
saw what King
But
Kohli did when he opened against Afghanistan.
yeah, that too. And I think it's a good squad. They're capable of winning. Jadeja's a big miss, but I see the trophy coming back with us. Dude, say the man without a middle name.
Thank you, Rehan, for that. Um, anyway, once upon a time in Dubai, against the likes of the Taliban-infused country, country, um, we we gazed upon the smile that won a brilliant hearts. The
From the man
smile,
with no middle name.
the smile from the man with no middle name got from the flick, the drive, and the 100. A beautiful encompassment of all his shots and all techniques possible. A brilliant display of artwork and talent. Only fake fans missed this game. Virat Kohli, now and forever. Thank you for listening and see you next week.